What's up guys, I am back with another video today. This time we're taking a look at the Nike Hypervenom Phantom 2 in the metallic bronze colorway. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. So taking a look at the box, again it is the Hypervenom Phantom 2, the official colorway being metallic bronze, black green, and glow white. As always, you do get a string bag. This one is black with white Nike hits. And then of course, you get the boots. So as we take a look at these, we'll go over the color first. Again, it is that metallic bronze. You can see it's kind of picking up the light a little bit here. It makes up the majority of the upper. You do have black detailing throughout. You get that kind of Hypervenom pattern that's on most of the Hypervenoms coming around the bottom with that black and metallic bronze detailing underneath. And then you do have black Nike hits with a white outline on the back portion, as well as wrapping around the inside of the toe. You have asymmetrical lacing with the black laces. And then you have this bronze and black interwoven Flyknit that makes up the portion underneath the laces, as well as that dynamic fit collar. On the sole plate, you do have a translucent sole plate with black detailing printed over top. And one thing I want to note is it does come with this tag that explains that black detailing, if I can get that in focus, that black detailing will fade over time. However, it will not affect performance in any way. As we get into some of the technical details, unlike the other dynamic fit collar boots from Nike that utilize that Flyknit, this boot does not utilize a full Flyknit upper. That Flyknit, as I mentioned before, is only present underneath the laces, making up that kind of tongue, stretchy tongue portion, as well as the dynamic fit collar and rear heel portion here. And the reason for that is the Hypervenom Phantom 2 as well as the Hypervenom Finish both utilize the same upper. It is a NikeSkin. It has a thin layer of synthetic underneath, a very thin layer of mesh, which gives it this kind of paneling detail that I'll get into more in a minute, which is then coated by this NikeSkin over top. There's no Flyknit underneath that. It's just that one layer, which is why with the Finish, you'll get almost exactly the same feel, besides for that dynamic fit collar, as you do with this, just with a lower price tag. This is definitely one of the thicker boots from Nike. It's considerably thicker than the Superfly, and still a bit thicker than the Magista Obra. However, we're talking fractions of millimeters. This is by no means a thick, clunky boot. It's still a very thin upper. You're still going to get a great touch on the ball. I just want to express that it is one of the thicker boots from Nike, and you're not going to get that really exactly barefoot feel with this that you will with, say, the Superfly. In addition to the NikeSkin coating, you do have all conditions control, and that'll give you better touch and better grip in wet conditions. It'll also keep your foot slightly more dry by just repelling a little bit more water. Doesn't make the boot waterproof, but it definitely helps. These grooves on the upper, while they don't really add too much grip on the ball, they do allow the boot to crease a little bit easier in those places, and there's enough of them where the boot should be very, very flexible right out of the box and very, very comfortable. As expected, you do have these fly wire cables that wrap up from the bottom of the boot up and around. Let's see, up and around the lace holes, here, all the way around, which add more lateral support. That way when you're cutting, you're turning, you're stopping, your foot isn't going to roll over the side, which was definitely a problem with the first Hypervenom Phantom. I wore to repair those myself for a while, and I definitely had problems with my foot sliding side to side. So it's good to see that they've addressed it with the next version of the boot. In addition to that, you do have asymmetrical lacing, as I mentioned before, which comes up slightly on the outside of your foot, giving you a larger surface on the inside. Underneath that, again, as I mentioned, you have the Flyknit, creating a kind of stretchy tongue there, which comes up into that dynamic fit collar around the top. The dynamic fit collar isn't going to give you any added support, but it definitely gives you a better fit, in my opinion, and a more sock-like kind of continuous feel to your boot. Move along to the outsole. As I mentioned, it is a translucent outsole with this black print over top. Again, that will fade over time, but not too bad. It is a compressed glass nylon sole plate with conical studs. You can see you've got 6 conical studs on the forefront of the foot, with 2 bladed studs, and then one in the middle, and then one as a kind of toe pick stud here. And then moving down to the back, you do have 4 conical studs there. They're not quite as aggressive as the studs you find on the Superflies, those bladed studs, but they give you a lot more maneuverability side to side because they are that conical shape. And I've never had any problems with the stud pattern. Last thing I want to show you guys before we head down to the turf to take a look at these on feet is the insole. It is black, single layer foam with a kind of mesh layer on top. You've got that green, that kind of, if the bronze had patinaed over time, that green Hypervenom branding there. And that's about it. So guys, I've gone over a lot of the details. Let's head downstairs and we'll take a look at these on feet. So to take a look at this boot on feet, I want to say the color does look pretty cool. I wasn't sure about these in hand, but now that they're on feet, definitely look a little bit better. Personally, I could do without the kind of Hypervenom details along the side, that graphic. I think the boot would be much, much cleaner without that, but the bronze does look pretty good. I'm wearing these in the size 9. Size 9 US is my true size, and they fit pretty well right now. This boot isn't really going to stretch. It's not really going to break in. Pretty much what you feel right out of the box is what you're going to feel the entire time. That glass nylon sole plate isn't really going to break in too much. It's going to get a little bit softer, but really not too much of a difference where you'll really notice it. And same goes with the upper. That upper, it's a little bit thicker, as I mentioned, and it's really not going to get as soft as some of the boots do as you break in over time. It's pretty much going to stay the way it is. Right out of the box. On the original Hypervenom Phantom, I wasn't the biggest fan of that asymmetrical lacing because I felt that it didn't give me a snug fit. The way that they fixed it with this, because that NikeSkin doesn't stretch and you do have that flywire technology snugging up the whole boot as you tie it tight, I think the asymmetrical lacing works really, really well, especially with that dynamic fit collar to give you a really locked down fit. It is very comfortable. Stud pattern, there's zero pressure there. As I mentioned before, I've never had any problems with this stud pattern. And overall, pretty pleased with this boot. So guys, hope you enjoyed that quick look at the Nike Hypervenom Phantom 2 in that metallic bronze color. One thing I did want to note that I haven't mentioned before is on the dynamic fit collar on the Superflies, as I mentioned in some previous videos, you do have that strip of synthetic leather that goes right at the back, which personally has given me some issues with blisters and stuff with the break-in period. However, with the Hypervenom Phantom, Nike has addressed that, and you can see that the seam goes up the side, so it's not going to be rubbing right on the back of your Achilles. Hopefully that's in focus for you there. And that just means that the break-in period on these is going to be really, really minimal. As I mentioned, they don't really break in all that much anyways, but it's nice that you don't get any blisters right out of the box. You shouldn't have any problems with that dynamic fit collar rubbing on your heel at all. You just have that Flyknit material up against the back, and that's very, very comfortable. Last note, these boots do run $275, so right up with that price point with the other dynamic fit collar boots. If you'd like to purchase them, you can do so on our website at eastcoastsoccershop.com. And even if you're not looking for this color, we do have other colors of this boot up on the site, so check that out there. If you'd like to see some more detailed shots of this colorway, you can do so on our Instagram at EastCoastsSoccerShop. I highly recommend checking that out. Besides that, guys, make sure you subscribe to the channel to stay up to date for the new videos, and we'll see you next time.